Good afternoon. So I put a couple hundred clicks on Berta here, and when I was originally driving her home from Berta, I noticed a bit of a driveline vibration developing, and I don't know how I didn't notice this, but I didn't notice this. And then over the last couple days, I came to the conclusion that there's definitely a driveline vibration. It's definitely getting worse, and that I believe it's in the front end. So I was under here changing the oil yesterday morning, and I was like, I should grab onto that front drive shaft and give her a wiggle. That's my driveline vibration. So I took one of them out already, but them bolts are all loose. So now I don't know if the last feller didn't tighten them up properly. I never had this end off when I did the pinion seal. I just took the other end off, and how I didn't notice it then, I don't know, but I didn't notice it, and it's definitely fallen off. Luckily, I caught it when I did, because that axle, that drive shaft is always spinning, and my brake lines and fuel lines are right there. As you can tell, I got a substantial leak under here somewhere still. I believe, I really hope anyway, that it's that inspection cover on the transmission. If it's not, then it's probably the input seal, which would suck. It means I gotta pull the tranny to fix it, but for now, we're just going to make sure it's got fluid in it, and I'm hoping to get it into the shop at work, jack it up real high, and pressure wash underneath here real good, hose it down with brake cleaner, engine degreaser, all those things, and see if I can't figure out where it's coming from, because right now, it's just everywhere. It's all over everything, and it's getting on the drive shaft, and the drive shaft's flinging it everywhere. That's not helping either. But for today, we're going to fix that. And how we're going to fix it is we're going to put longer bolts. This flange is threaded on the output of the transfer case. So I got bolts that are the same thread as the ones in there, but longer. So they're going to stick all the way out the back. And then I'm going to put lock nuts on the back like a jam nut. And I'm told by my good buddy Tin Man that that's how Toyota puts them together in the first place, which is great. So that's what we're going to do. I want to avoid putting Loctite on here if I can. I don't like putting Loctite, especially red Loctite, on things I might have to take off. And there's a really reasonable chance that a guy might have to take this drive shaft off on the side of the road for one reason or another. So I'd rather not have red Loctite on there if I can avoid it. If a jam nut works just fine, then that's what we're going to do. So let's get on with the show. So you can see this one here. That's what was in there. And I got Nylox. I figure why not, a little more insurance. And that's what I'm going to put in. I got them just long enough to stick through and get this nut on there. Hopefully it works out. I'll put one in and I'll let you guys know. I was taught in school and at my fabricating job that in order to have proper thread engagement on a nut, the threads must protrude no less than 2 threads beyond the nut. So in order to have proper thread engagement, this nut needs to thread on there and have 2 threads sticking out. I almost guarantee that will not be the case in this application, but because I'm using it as a jam nut and it's a nylock, I feel like it should be adequate. Time will tell. I don't know if this is going to fix this problem. I don't know if this is a reoccurring problem. For all I know, maybe he just didn't torque them down enough. All I know for sure is I absolutely do not want that front drive shaft flying off and destroying all my brake lines and fuel lines and rendering me stranded on the side of the road all at the same time. If it came off the pinion end, at least I could just take it off and throw it in the box of the truck and move on with life. Probably not any horrible damage. Hopefully my oil pan survived that if it happened. But yeah, anyway. We're going to install these new longer hardware, and that's going to be our quick fix to what was... I'm glad that I found it too, by the way. Driveline vibrations can be a nightmare to try to nail down sometimes. This one was pretty obvious. I put my hand on it and it went clunk, clunk, clunk. And I was like, oh, well, there's the problem. So that's what we're going to do. Longer bolts. We'll put nuts on the backside. For all I know, this is how they were from factory. I have no idea. All I know is this is what was in there. And that's not a factory Dodge bolt either. But it is grade 8 and I do respect that. So that's what we're going to do. As you can see, the bolts just barely protrude through the nuts, but they do protrude. And one thing you gotta check And it clears on mine, and I don't know that this is the case with every transfer case in one of these trucks. But that shift linkage is actually pretty close. When you shift it into four-wheel high, it gets a little closer, but I do have clearance. I checked it, I spun it, I tried it in four low. When you go in four low and in neutral, it actually gets further away, that lever, so it's not an issue. It does come close, but not so close it's going to hit. There's probably a 1/4 inch in there, and that's enough clearance for something like that. If you were to go with a bolt that's even a 1/4 inch longer, I wager to guess it would hit. So I guess I got lucky. It was actually really hard to get those nuts on and everything, so I hope that I don't ever have to take it off on the side of the road. But at least it won't come off now, I think. I will be keeping an eye on this now going forward. I'm going to venture to guess that they just weren't tightened up enough. And the reason why I think that is because I found it incredibly difficult to get them tight, to the point where I disconnected it at the pinion so that I could freely rotate it without jacking the truck up. And I rammed them in there with my 1/2 inch impact gun to get them tight in there. And then I put the nuts on. So, yeah. Anyway, that'll conclude today's festivities. Thanks for hanging out.